US ready to blockade Iranian ports. And local travel agency license revoked after guide forces tourists to shop. Good evening, welcome to TVB News. A few hours after US-Iran talks concluded without reaching an agreement Sunday, US Central Command announced that the US Navy would begin blocking Iranian ports beginning Monday of ships trying to enter or leave the Strait of Hormuz. Although in the past hour, 2 tankers laden with oil have been allowed to exit the strait. When US President Donald Trump was asked how long it might be before Iranian officials returned to the negotiating table amid a fragile ceasefire, Trump answered that he did not care if they came back or not. Tracy Furness reports.
Arriving back at Joint Base Andrews, just outside Washington, D.C., President Donald Trump spoke to waiting reporters and did not hold back when asked about further US-Iran negotiations.
Oh, I don't know. I don't care if they come back or not. If they don't come back, I'm fine. Their military is gone. Their missiles are largely depleted. The manufacturing capability for missiles and drones is largely defeated. We've been very nice. We haven't ripped down too many bridges. We did one only because they broke their word, they broke their promise. And remember, their promise was that they were going to open the Hormuz Strait. They didn't do it. They lied.
He also criticized Pope Leo after he said a delusion of omnipotence is fueling the US-Israel war in Iran.
We don't like a pope that's going to say that it's okay to have a nuclear weapon. We don't want a pope that says crime is okay in our cities. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of Pope Leo. He's a very liberal person, and he's a man that doesn't believe in stopping crime. He's a man that doesn't think that we should be toying with a country that wants a nuclear weapon so they can blow up the world. I'm not a fan of Pope Leo.
Tel Aviv residents were not hopeful after the United States and Iran ended talks Sunday without an agreement to end the war, leaving a fragile 2-week ceasefire in doubt.
We'll have a long war. It's that I think it's World War III. It will win. Mm-hmm. That's what I think.
I live for now. The ceasefire may end tomorrow, may end in an hour.
Neither side have indicated what will happen after the 14-day ceasefire with Iran expires on April 22nd. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Pope Leo XIV pushed back on Monday on US President Donald Trump's broadside against him over the war in Iran.
The things that I say are certainly not meant as attacks on anyone. And the message of the gospel is very clear. Blessed are the peacemakers. I will not shy away from announcing the message of the gospel, of inviting all people to look for ways of building bridges for peace and reconciliation, of looking for ways to avoid war anytime that's possible. To put my message on the same plane as what the president has attempted to do here, I think is not understanding what the message of the gospel is. And I'm sorry to hear that, but I will continue on what I believe is the mission of the church in the world.
Lebanon's Prime Minister Nawaf Salam said Sunday his government is committed to ending the war with Israel through negotiations. This as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited parts of southern Lebanon under the Israeli military control, his first visit since the current round of fighting between Israel and Hezbollah. Tracy Furness again.
Tensions remain high at the Israeli-Lebanese border Sunday as both countries prepare for negotiations next week. But residents of northern Israel are not optimistic about the outcome.
I don't see anything will come out of it. It really is because of the pressure of United States on Israel that we need to subdue the fighting here.
We already know negotiations with people who hate you and their agenda is to wipe you out is not going to happen. And Israel it's become very aware of that. And it's sad for the fact that I live here, I'm an American, and I can be able to say to other people, listen, when you live under rocket fire, drones, and missiles every day for 2 years and almost 8 months now, and negotiating has not done anything.
Lebanon's Prime Minister Nawaf Salam said Sunday, "We will persist in our efforts to end the war, foremost among them the initiative presented by President Joseph Aoun to negotiate a ceasefire." Negotiations between Israel and Lebanon are expected to begin Tuesday in Washington after Israel's surprise announcement authorizing talks despite their lack of official relations. This as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited parts of southern Lebanon under Israeli military control Sunday. He said, "One of the things we see here is that we have essentially changed the face of the Middle East," adding, "Our enemies, Iran and the axis of evil, they came to destroy us, and now they are simply fighting for their own survival." Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Hungarian voters ousted long-serving Prime Minister Viktor Orban after 16 years in power. Pro-EU's Peter Magyar and his Tisza party won the parliamentary election, which had a turnout of nearly 80%. His party is expected to win 55 seats, while Magyar's party is projected to win 138 out of 199 seats in the parliament. The days before the election, US Vice President J.D. Vance had travelled to Budapest, saying he had come to help Orban. The Travel Industry Authority, or TIA, revoked the license of a travel agency and one of its tour guides for allegedly coercing tourists into shopping, making the first time such powers had been used to crack down on industry malpractice. Samantha Lee reports.
At the travel agency's office in Chimsache, staff members were seen covering the windows with newspapers. Records show other travel agencies are also registered at the same address. In a statement, the TIA said Starlink Travel Limited was suspected of coercing mainland tour groups into shopping on 4 separate occasions between January and March this year. The authority therefore launched an investigation. Investigators found the tour guide named Kuwa threatened travelers who did not spend enough to pay the difference in tour fees. Reportedly, the guide also made inappropriate remarks to participants on a coach. It is understood that the tour fees were about a few $100s per person. The TRA concluded that both the travel agency and the guide seriously breached licensing conditions, severely damaging the industry's reputation. For the first time, TIA revoked the licenses of both the travel agency and its tour guide under the Travel Industry Ordinance. The regulator has not ruled out further disciplinary action or criminal prosecution. The move received support from several industry representatives. Timothy Choi, executive director of the Hong Kong Tourism Association, noted the prompt action taken by the watchdog and said it was much more effective than the industry's old management style. He also expressed disappointment over the incident, given that the sector had hosted at least 5 million tourists without a single complaint. Lawmaker Yupek Learn said, while the business environment is tough for the industry, it is no excuse for malpractice. In a social media post, tourism lawmaker Vivian Kong praised the TIA for its move, noting it is essential to get rid of the rotten apples in the sector and rebuild the industry's international reputation. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
Witnesses from the Fire Services Department continued to testify on the Taipo fire and the Independent Committee's public hearing. Mo Sung-ai reports.
The public hearing resumed at Central City Gallery. Under the guidance of Lee Shi-woon, the committee's counsel, Ho Gi-non, the senior station officer of Taipo Fire Station, also one of the first firefighters to arrive at Wan Fu Court on the day, offered his testimony. Ho had helped formulate a contingency plan for Wan Fu Court, which was required because of the estate's renovation project. But Ho said the Fire Services Department didn't inspect the estate before drawing up the plan. He explained that's because Wan Fu Court was an old estate and the department was familiar with it. Ho said he couldn't hear the fire alarms after arriving arriving at the scene and had considered deploying colleagues to Wancheng House to check the fire services system. However, Ho didn't enact the plan because of the severe fire condition at the block, preventing the firefighters from entering. Ho told the committee that all firefighters were supposed to remain outside the blocks at the initial stage upon their arrival. Ho recalled receiving a mayday call from late firefighter Ho Wai-ho, saying he was trapped on the 30th floor. While Ho said he wasn't sure about the identity and location of the caller, he assumed Ho was in Wancheng House, where the blaze was fierce at the time. Another FSD witness, Zheng Lokhang, the station commander of Taibo Fire Station, said the blaze was spreading impossibly quickly, both vertically and horizontally. Zheng said the unprecedented situation had exceeded the scope of the FSD's rescue tactics. A third FSD witness, Lam Ho-jun, Deputy Divisional Commander of New Territories East, who arrived at the fire scene at 3:29 p.m., said the department confirmed Ho Wai-ho's identity at 3:55 p.m. after some colleagues tried to rescue the fallen firefighter outside Wantai House.
Apart from Monday's hearing, the committee will hold 3 more this week between Wednesday and Friday. Meanwhile, another 7 sessions will take place in the following weeks. Memos 9, TVB News.
And still ahead, World Internet Conference Asia Pacific Summit opens in Hong Kong. Hong Kong Disneyland hosts Make-A-Wish reunion. And Cubans use a creative method to carry bikes in the tunnel. Welcome back. The 2026 World Internet Conference Asia Pacific Summit kicked off in Wan Chai today. Chief Executive John Lee stated that the event reinforces the city's deep integration into national development strategies. Samantha Lee has more.
The 2-day summit takes place at the Hong Kong Convention and Exhibition Centre. Key officials in attendance were CE John Lee, Director of the Cyberspace Administration of China Zhang Rongwen, Director of the Liaison Office Zhou Qi, among others.
All under the auspices of one country, two systems. Hosting this international summit also underscores Hong Kong's growing prominence as an international innovation and technology hub. No less important, it reinforces our deep integration into national development strategies.
Zhang Rongwen noted that technologies like artificial intelligence are reshaping the global economy. He highlighted Hong Kong's unique status as a superconnector that connects the mainland with the world in the digital field. Meanwhile, Financial Secretary Paul Chan highlighted the city's ambition to become an AI hub by leveraging the expertise of local institutions.
Hong Kong is determined to enable more AI applications to be deployed, tested, and deployed in real-world settings. On the one hand, Hong Kong is building a strong AI talent pipeline by attracting top minds to our universities, research institutes, and technology companies.
The second day of the summit will feature 6 forums, covering topics such as digital finance and AI security and governance. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
The Labour Department on Monday said authorities will add 9 sets of heat index data as issuing criteria of the heat stress at work warning starting this month. The existing system relies on data from the observatory station at Kings Park. Under the new system, authorities will issue a heat stress at work warning if 4 or more of the 9 monitoring locations show that the heat stress situation exceeds a threshold level. That means if the Kings Park's index doesn't reach the level, a heat stress warning will still be raised. Hong Kong Disneyland is celebrating 20 years of granting magical wishes through a local charity. Jackie Lin was at the event.
A party and a reunion for children and teenagers who have seen their wish come true, hosted by Hong Kong Disneyland and Make-A-Wish Foundation. Bring together some 40 beneficiaries to celebrate their wish journeys with their families, doctors, and wish granters. They include 14-year-old Ernest, who was afflicted with kidney disease, After undergoing kidney transplant surgery, he wishes to begin a new chapter of life through photography. Ernest says he received a professional-grade camera from the charity and was coached personally by Disney's professional photographer Brian. With a wish come true, his very own photo exhibition. Another beneficiary from 20 years ago is Cindy, who was afflicted with leukemia when he was around 7 to 8 years old. She still holds dear to the memories when she had her Disney trip with her family while battling the ailment.
This energy is and a touching moment is infecting me nowadays, and when I was upset and anxiety about work or about my life, I think of the memories of going to Disneyland with my family and then have a moment with Poo. I hug him so that I can have more encouragement to move on.
Cindy has now recovered from leukemia. Having granted the wishes of some 400 children over the past 20 years, Hong Kong Disneyland is donating $800,000 to continue the endeavor.
Disney stories teach us that even in the toughest moments, wish and hope can light the way forward. That belief also guides how we support young patients beyond the parks.
Every single hope and every single support can really help to realize the hope of every single kid.
Apart from granting wishes to children and teenagers fighting critical illnesses, Make-A-Wish Hong Kong also hosts community activities, not just with visits to Disneyland, but also with school talks, workshops, and hospital visits, having reached more than 48,000 beneficiaries. Jacqueline, TVB News.
Peru's presidential election result is likely to be announced on Monday or later after the process was mired with logistical issues. Thousands of people in the country and abroad were unable to cast ballots. The problem prompted electoral authorities to allow more than 52,000 residents of Lim to vote on Monday. The extension also covers Peruvians registered to vote in parts of the US. A presidential candidate needs more than 50% of votes to win outright. However, runoff in June is virtually assured given the deeply divided electorate and the largest pool of candidates in Peruvian history. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel said in an interview that dialogues and deals between Havana and Washington are possible but difficult, amid heightened tensions over the US's previous military actions in Venezuela and Iran, as well as an effective oil blockade in Cuba. During NBC News' Meet the Press program aired on Sunday, Miguel Diaz-Canel of Cuba expressed willingness to engage with the U.S. over any issue without conditions, such as migration, drug trafficking and security, but only on the basis of respect and equality. Respect for Cuba's political system or constitutional order is not a subject for negotiation with the U.S., he said, speaking through a translator. Diaz-Canel pointed out the sanctions have exacerbated economic hardships on the Caribbean island, especially by causing fuel shortages, stating the U.S. government should reflect on how cruel and unjustly it has treated Cuba and the Cuban people. He noted there is no valid reason for the U.S. to launch a military campaign, undertake a surgical operation, or the kidnapping of a president, as an invasion would be costly and affect regional security. Should the attacks happen, he pledged Cubans would fight to defend themselves, quoting their national anthem. Nevertheless, the president said his administration is open to foreign investment in oil exploration and drilling, and that there will be an opportunity for U.S. businesses to enter and participate in Cuba's energy sector. Havana has blamed Washington's energy blockade that stopped it from receiving key oil shipments from Venezuela following the U.S. military's attack on the South American country and seizure of then-President Nicolas Maduro. In Havana, where there is a drastic reduction of public transport, a special cycle bus has become a popular and essential means to take people in their rides to pass through the underwater tunnel. The diesel-powered bus has existed for some time, and it covers 3 kilometers in about 15 minutes, with a route linking Old Havana to the eastern side of the island. In comparison to a fare of 1,000 Cuban pesos on a shared taxi, taking the cycle bus only costs from 2 to 5 pesos, depending on whether riders take a bicycle or a motorcycle. Passengers are also allowed to board the bus without vehicles in recent weeks. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.